Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This holiday was absolutely fantastic for me. I hope it was great for you. I did have a little video last week as we returned from vacation. But today, my friends, on this most auspicious of days, we must stand vigilant in fear that far-left insurrectionists may try to stop the certification of Donald J. Trump. That's right, my friends. Today is the day that Congress is going to count the electoral votes to determine that Donald Trump is in fact the winner and formally declare him president-elect. It's pretty wild. We also have a major snowstorm, so the good news is, rest assured, far leftists are not going to go out and protest because there's too much snow on the ground. So it actually is pretty wild that it snowed so heavily, literally on January 6th, because ain't nobody protesting in this stuff. But there is still concern because the left is pretty nuts, and they have been protesting. And while I'm not really concerned, it's obviously tongue-in-cheek, I'm not really concerned that far leftists are going to go around smashing windows and storming into the Capitol and screaming, no more Trump or whatever. They have been protesting, and they are pretty crazy. You got these viral videos. I only have a couple pulled up where these leftists are saying, these Democrats, like, oh, we're going to storm the Capitol on the 19th. Okay, they're not really saying storm the Capitol, but they're saying, we're going to show up on the 19th and protest and stop Donald Trump from becoming president. It's like the 19th. Well, January 6th is the day they count the votes, so whatever. One chick actually says that Kamala is signaling, wink, wink, that she's not going anywhere and that she will be president. Okay. Yeah, it's not going to happen. But they are going to count the electoral votes. It's over. And while it is January 6th, and it's funny because all of these liberal outlets are saying it's the anniversary of January 6th. They didn't care last year, the year before that. They only cared on January 6th, 2021. And they only care now. Yeah, they didn't care while Joe Biden was president because it was meaningless. But now Donald Trump has won. He will become the president. Hopefully everything is safe and secure. But of course, you even got Merrick Garland coming out. The whinging, the manipulation, and the lies. We're going to break it down. Merrick Garland issued a statement saying that on this day, we remember the 5 police officers who lost their lives as the result of January 6th. And over this holiday, of course, I know many of you probably experienced this. But I was hanging out with family, extended family. And I had one conversation where, one individual said to me, well, the people who killed that police officer should be in prison. And I said, yeah, nobody killed the cop. And this very kind family member, very nice, I mean, no disrespect, said, well, that's what everybody was saying, that the cop was killed. And I was like, you're talking about Officer Sicknick, who died of natural causes and well after January 6th. Sorry. I mean, I think it was like a day or two later, the individual had a stroke and died. And it was deemed natural causes. Now, they try to argue, yeah, but clearly the stress of January 6th led to this. We don't know that. Come on. More importantly, don't try to conflate, okay, what was a riot and a protest where someone may have been stressed. You're trying to conflate that with someone actually bashed a cop over the head and killed him. It didn't happen. And as for those other officers, I mean, they're tragic stories, but they were suicides, and they're unrelated to January 6th. Now, they try to make it seem like it was related, but dude, we're not playing that game. You're not playing that game with me. But Democrats, of course, try to play that game. We ain't playing that game. So let's break this down. Right now, D.C. is on high alert because we had 2 major incidents that are considered to be terror attacks. Now, I got to tell you, my friends, we got to do a deep dive breakdown of the Vegas incident because this one looks like sloppy wet work, let me tell you. Now, we're not going to get into it all in this segment, but I will give you the gist of it as to why D.C. is on high alert and security is being cranked up. Well, obviously, the New Orleans attack has people really on edge. And I mentioned this last week, but Alex Stein, me, the family, we were planning on going to New Orleans. No joke, not even kidding. And I was talking with Alex. He's like, bro, we would have been right there, like on Bourbon Street. That was the plan. Because I've never been in New Orleans, and I've been all over. And we had 2 weeks, and I was like, let's just pop down for a couple days. We decided not to do it because, we had family on the way, and we figured we should be traveling as much. And so we didn't, and it's kind of scary. The other thing, too, is the second choice was Vegas. No joke. You guys know I love playing Hold'em. So in New Orleans, you have a guy who's clearly inspired by ISIS. They found an ISIS flag. The dude had apparently had gone to training camps, and how this got past the CIA and the FBI, oh boy, we don't know. But because of this, high alert in D.C. Now in Vegas, the story gets really weird because you got this viral clip from the Sean Ryan show where this dude gets an email where this dude, who's allegedly the guy in the truck, said that he was trying to blow the whistle on gravitic propulsion drones. Yeah, gravitic propulsion. Never heard of that, but the general idea is that it manipulates gravity to fly. And he says that the U.S. and China have these technologies, and he's going to blow the whistle, and he's fleeing. I guess I don't know the full story, but it's wild that according to this gentleman, I'm not familiar with who he is, receiving this email. I believe Sean Ryan all said he received a similar email. He said that the emails were received before the Cybertruck blew up in front of the Vegas Trump Hotel. So you may have heard this. It's a wild story I don't know a whole lot about. But I did look at what was posted. The headers for the email were posted. The dates are on it, screenshotted. Unless it's some very elaborate hoax, it looks like this dude emailed well in advance that he was planning to blow the whistle. So they find the guy in a Cybertruck with a bullet in his head, and the truck explodes. And so what people are now suggesting, and look, I'm not telling you I know, I'm saying this is what's going around the internet, is that this dude was trying to blow the whistle on something. He got stopped by U.S. intel or military, and they decided to take him out. Then they drove, because you can self-drive Teslas, his Cybertruck to a Trump building and blew it up. I don't know. I guess the conspiracy theory is that the dude had the explosives in his truck to protect himself in the event they tried to stop him and take him. And then they just use it against him. Man, I got no idea. But we'll talk about that probably later tonight. We'll get more details and dig up. But for that, the reason I bring it up is because DC's on high alert. So we'll talk all about this. Let's first get started on the anti-Trump protesters who are demanding that Congress block Trump certification. It's not going to happen, and they're not going to be out today because there's too much snow. But before we do, my friends, you know, I said we had a big announcement. Everybody was running this fake story. It's wild, dude. It's so wild. They were running this fake story saying that we had already sold to the Daily Wire. I'm a big fan of the Daily Wire. We actually, on the Timcast IRL set, we've got behind our guest, we've got 2 bottles of wine. We got Elon's burnt hair cologne. We've got the Timcast ammo box, and we've got the Mayflower cigars, and we've got the Daily Wire Truth Bomb. Just because they're things that we like to put knickknacks up, you know, and bring some more character to the room. We're big fans of Daily Wire. We had never sold to the Daily Wire. We were not discussing selling to the Daily Wire. It's wild that some random blog publishes this story, and then everybody just ran with it. And then I'm getting blasted by these tweets, like just endless, where they're like, Tim Pool was bought by Jews and like other psychotic psychobabble. Yo, Jake Shields, you owe me a bottle of Pappy. I'm not saying I told him, he was like, you were bought by the Daily Wire. And I was like, I bet you $1,000 is not true. You know, a bottle of Pappy. Yeah, it's a little bit more than $1,000. You can get them for like $1,200. It's a whiskey. It's a bourbon, I think. I don't know. I don't drink. Anyway, where's that guy at? Yeah. As soon as January 1st came around, they all just stopped talking about it. Duh. These people are morons. Alex Jones recently called out Jake Shields being like, dude, you are obsessed with Jews. And I'd like to say, Jake, you are so psychotically wrong about everything you talk about. I hope this is a wake-up call that when you and all your folks on X are screaming that Timcast was bought, you know, can I just point out how insane it is? Because this was like 2 weeks before January 1st. They're like, Tim is selling everything. It's like, do you think a deal like that can happen in 2 weeks? You people are nuts. Anyway, the big announcement that I said on X was that Cast Brew franchising is here. And we've already got dozens. We are being led in this great effort by our good friend, Chef Andrew Gruel, who's an expert on these things. And you can go to castbrew.com and click franchise to learn about the franchise opportunity and how you could open your own Casper location. Some people have said, yeah, but Tim, you didn't even open yours yet. Yeah, we got stuck on the historical building aspect of it. Because of this, we got jammed up and we decided we're going to probably put it somewhere else, which could open up much more quickly. But understand, the whole time we had been creating the plans, the designs, the marketing strategies, and it took a long time to file all the paperwork. Seriously, that's like the bulk of it. But we designed different layouts for coffee shops. We did all that background work so that we can launch all of these. We were hoping to have ours up first, but all this means is whoever wants to open a Casper, you go to castbrew.com and read about it. It might be you. So that was the big announcement. And people, and like, what am I supposed to do? Like, we January 1st was the date we could formally announce for legal reasons. And everyone's like, he's selling to the Daily Wire. I'm like, dude, these people are nuts. You're crazy. You just don't believe it. But don't forget also to head over to boonieshq.com. Pick up some Boonies skateboards. We got Step on Sneck and Find Out in stock. Restocking them because these things sell like hotcakes. And everybody, this is like one of our next bestsellers is The Right to Arm Bears. It's a grizzly bear, I think, wearing a flannel and brandishing a shotgun. He's got a nice hat. If you think bears should have shotguns, that's the skateboard for you. But let's jump into the news. We got this from News to Share. Ford Fisher on the ground yesterday. Protesters gathered in Washington, D.C. Friday and Saturday to demand Congress reject the January 6th certification of Donald Trump as the winner of the presidential race. Lock him up, activists chanted Friday at Washington, D.C.'s Franklin Park. Comedian Cliff Cash described the 14th Amendment's prohibition on insurrection as taking office as applying to Trump, whom he also says he does not believe actually won in 2024. I just love how insane everything is. Can we relish in that? When Trump won, my wife is MAGA, I divorced. Whoa! When Trump won, my wife is MAGA, I divorced my wife. I quit my job, explained activist Michael. At my age, 66 if need be, I will give my life to do what I can to save this country. Yo, these people are nuts. You know, it's really funny. Guys, when Trump lost in 2020, and he did, and I'm going to tell you why. Winning doesn't mean that a bunch of people raise their hand saying, I hereby vote Donald Trump. Winning means you've taken the battlefield. If you think our elections only ever were, we show up with smiles on our faces and write down a name and put in a box. Well, I got a bridge to sell you. Elections have always been about the exercise of raw power, billions of dollars spent or the equivalent of to win political power in this country. And Joe Biden and Democrats figured out a means to do so. And you can say it was cheating. You can say it was untoward. You can say all those things. Yeah. And all is fair in love and war, right? This time around, Donald Trump won. And you know what we can say? You can argue that 2020 was unfair with the lockdowns and the mail-in voting and the weird shenanigans and all that stuff. Yeah, totally fine, totally fine. Biden still took the White House. Say this. Donald Trump held an election straight up with no universal mail-in voting, much the same way during a lockdown. And he won a popular mandate. That says a lot. Certainly does. But power won is power won. So this guy now coming out and saying that Trump didn't win and he divorced his wife. Some people's brains have rotted and turned to jelly. He calls, especially the Democrats in Congress, cowards and traitors for not blocking Trump. He explains one theory about the 2025 election, 2024, is that Elon Musk hacked into the Dominion voting systems to create fraudulent votes for Trump. It was Elon this time. One activist held a sign reading, F.A. engage in insurrection, F.O. disqualified from office, and demanded Congress decline to certify. We will never cease calling January 6th an insurrection, explained University of Maryland constitutional law professor Mark Graber, who defined insurrection and applied it to Trump step by step. We will never cease calling Trump an insurrectionist. One brought petitions he hopes participants will hand out to Congress to block Trump certification. Blah, blah, blah. All right, here we go, friends. Let's play this. From End Wokeness, the left still thinks Kamala Harris will be the president. Trump is done. Oh, here we go.
Trump coming out and calling for a rally with his supporters January 19th, one day before the inauguration. Why would you need to do that the day before you are supposedly being inaugurated the 47th president? He wants those people here in town for when it becomes even more evident than it already is that under 14th Amendment Section 3, he cannot be sworn in. He's done. He knows it. He's known it for a while. Only thing is, they're ready for you this time, dude.
Cope and seethe. Here we go. Check this one out.
I am shook, shaken, and stirred right now.
Shook, shaken, and stirred, my friends. All three at once. Perhaps you should see a doctor.
To get out of bed. Did y'all see Kamala Harris's end of the year / New Year post? Why was it? Why? There has to be a reason it was that extra. Because that was unnecessary. I feel like this is there. It's coded. It's coded. I don't know what it means, but it means something. It
means nothing.
She's not going anywhere. I think that's very clear from this video. She ain't going nowhere. Also, another reason why I think this video is important is that Biden is not featured at all. Not even one
Not even
frame. I feel like that's strange. I feel like that's a little strange. Remember, the things that she keeps repeating. We are not going to throw up our hands. We're going to roll up our sleeves. It's time to get to work.
Okay, lady, guy, calm down. Well, then you got Brian Krasenstein. He says, human scum, democracy is important. I pray that we never face this ever again on January 6th. Oh, my dude, just stop. You know, these guys are so fake. Listen, man, January 6th was a riot. It was a particularly bad riot. It was a riot at the Capitol. I'd say probably half or more of the people, I think more than half, weren't doing anything, weren't rioting. It was a small group, relatively, that pushed through the barricades, smashed windows, and fought cops. However, it was another smaller group that made up the larger portion of the riot, who then climbed through broken glass and started pushing their way into the Capitol. On the other side, you had people with a permit who had no idea what was going on, and the doors were opened by people on the other side, and they walked in. And they were walking between the ropes. There's videos of them walking and waving to cops and taking selfies with police officers. Yeah. Sorry. Look, I think it's bad when people riot, and I think people who riot should get charged for it. I think the people who broke their way in, smashed windows, knocked down cops, all of that stuff, should go to prison. Yes. Well, actually, I'd say jail, because prison's longer than a year. I don't think you get it. I guess if you assault an officer, I'd say prison. But what, like a year for like felony assault on an officer or something? They probably do way more than that. In this regard, considering it was bad, my stance has always been, if you hit a cop, if you fought a cop, if you were rioting, you go to jail. But I don't know, 6 months to a year, maybe? Some of these people have been locked up for years. Some of them have gotten 20-year sentences. This is nuts. Well, I don't know what's going to happen, but they say Donald Trump is going to start pardoning everybody, as he should. But there are rumors he's only going to pardon about 1,000. I don't know if that's true. Hopefully, he does pardon everybody. Well, no, I think commutation. If you're somebody in prison because you hit a cop, commutation. You got charged for hitting a cop, dude. You go to jail for that, okay? Don't be rioting, and don't riot at the Capitol. But for the people who walked in clueless, yeah, just pardon them, dude. It's a public building. It's typically open to the public. And this idea that they're going to lock people up for years over this is stupid. Here we go. From the Office of Public Affairs, DOJ, Merrick Garland's statement on the 4th anniversary of the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Here we go. He says, on this day 4 years ago, police officers were brutally assaulted while bravely defending the United States Capitol. They were punched, tackled, tased, and attacked with chemical agents that burn their eyes and skin. Today, I'm thinking of the officers who still bear the scars of that day, as well as the loved ones of the 5 officers who lost their lives in the line of duty as a result of what happened to them on January 6th. You know, these people are evil. Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. These people are evil. Now, I'm going to say this. We're somewhat lucky it ain't as bad as it is in the UK. If you hear about what's going on with those grooming gangs, whew, the news coming out of the UK is nightmarish. You know, I somewhat say tongue-in-cheek, UK is conquered. But after this story came out about what these men have been doing to little girls for decades, with government covering it up and even arresting the fathers, yeah, the UK is conquered, man. I got to be honest, I cannot repeat the things that are in these documents on YouTube. They'd probably take the video down. I'm not kidding. It's torture of children, extreme graphic child abuse torture by these grooming gangs. So I'm just going to say this. Like, I read this about Merrick Garland. I'm like, these people are corrupt, but oof, at least it ain't that corrupt. It's close. Don't get me wrong. No officer, not a single one, lost their life in the line of duty over January 6th. Fake news. And I'll prove it to you with factcheck.org. How many died in the Capitol riot? Well, there were Trump supporters, 2 heart attacks, an overdose, and a shooting death. Law enforcement, a stroke victim. A police officer, the day after the riots, Brian Sicknick, passed away due to injuries sustained while on duty. Fake. The report stated that Sicknick was injured, while physically engaging with protesters. He returned to his office and collapsed. The New York Times, citing an unnamed law enforcement source, initially reported that Sicknick was struck by a fire extinguisher, but later updated the story to say medical experts said he did not die of blunt force trauma. In fact, it was natural causes. U.S. Capitol Police released a statement that read, the U.S. CP accepts the findings from the D.C. Office of the Medical Examiner. Sicknick died of natural causes. It does not change the fact that Officer Sicknick died in the line of duty, courageously defending Congress and the Capitol. You know, I can give him that because he was at work when it happened, but it didn't happen at January 6th. And so the issue I take with him, with Garland saying that died in the line of duty, it's like, dude, he didn't drop dead on January 6th at the Capitol. He had left and he had a stroke. He had 2 strokes, 8 hours, okay, after the event. So spare me, dude. Sad that the dude died, but come on, man. Strokes happen. Then you have 4 suicides that didn't even happen on January 6th. And they go on to say that, like, in the days and months after the riot, 4 officers committed suicide. What? Come on, man. That's certainly not in the line of duty. And it is sad, okay? But they're trying to just make it seem like it was January 6th related. That one guy was on his way to work and he shot himself. Well, look, man, I'm not here to play conspiracy theories with you. I can tell you definitively, based on the news as reported, none of these people died in the line of duty. And if you want to argue Sicknick was, you are stretching it, only because he was at work several hours after January 6th and he had a stroke. But let me tell you, I'm not a doctor or anything, but I don't think that whatever caused the stroke was related to something that happened only hours before. It was something bubbling up in him, okay? But that's just me. Fine, by all means, you can argue that. But these other officers, we ain't playing that game. Well, right now, D.C. is on high alert because we've got, you have Carter's funeral, you've got Trump's inauguration, you've got the certification today. It is going to be nuts. Left is calling for mass protests, and you've got a ton of massive parties happening in D.C. coming up in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be wild. The inaugural ball. I think there may be like a big Trump event. You've got big podcasting events. It's going to be wild. Now you got this. Attacks fuel D.C.'s pre-inauguration security fears. Yeah. So get ready, ladies and gentlemen. There's no telling what will happen. What I can say right now, though, there is so much snow on the ground outside. Ain't no protesters going to be showing up. Maybe 1 or 2. Dude, one of the worst things in the business was like when we were covering all the breaking news back during the Occupy days, and like that's the 2010s, we knew if it rained, you're called off. Like we'd literally spend thousands of dollars gearing up and getting plane tickets and hotels because like there's a major BLM riot that's going to happen in this city because for this reason this happened. And then they're like, oh, light drizzle. Call it off. Get your money back while you can. I'm not even kidding. You'd see like some press event where, something happened and the left is like, we're going to protest on this day. And you're like, oh boy, here we go. We'd fly into this city and then they'd be like, well, it's going to rain in a few hours. And I'd be like, that's it. Who wants to go see a movie? Nobody shows up. Now, sometimes you get a small handful, but nobody riots. Nobody goes nuts. The rain, shut it all down. So it's good news for Trump. With this snow coming in, what are they going to do about it? Yeah. Complain on the internet and argue that Biden is the real president again or something. Sure. Now, I showed you these 2 videos. There's a bunch more. I showed some the other day, or I'm sorry, a couple weeks ago, where a guy was saying he wants everybody to show up in D.C. on the 19th, and they're going to block Trump and all that. Yeah, okay, dude. Let's not play that game. Silly. But we are wondering what the administration is going to be doing. So we got more segments coming up for you today. At 1 p.m. begins the certification process. We'll have more segments coming up for you. Next will be at noon. And we got more news. Joe Biden is apparently already administratively sabotaging Donald Trump. It won't work. We'll talk about it. Smash that like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Become a member over at timcast.com. Thank you all so much for hanging out and supporting our work. And we'll see you all in the next segment.